Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, now we are at part what, 4? I think part 4. We're gonna be talking about the end of season 2 final chapter, the Grand Servants, and showing everybody the thing. So, interviewer ask, 10年目には起きる。It says, in the 10th year, we really didn't get a large system update, did we, sir? It says, Mr. 2 answers, while we are moving forward and while we are moving towards the final chapter, we've come to the decision that we're not going to make a large system modification. それに向けて大きなシステム改造はしないと決めました。環境を変えるような進行はせっかく決めた自分のグランドサーバントが無駄になっちゃうとか感じてさせてしまう可能性がありますので、ずっと強化してほしいというお願いしてきた以上、そういうことはできないんです。So yeah, it's essentially interviewer asks, there's not a large system modification update. What's up with that? And then Mr. 2 specifically says, while we are getting to the final chapter, we decided to not do a large system update. We don't want to change the environment so drastically because you've chosen your grand servants, and I don't want that choice that you've made go to waste because of a major system update at this moment. That's a possibility, so we wanted to avoid that. We wanted the feeling of strengthen 強化してほしいとお願いしてきた以上、そういうことはできないんです。Because some of the characters you all wanted, some of the servants wanted to be strengthened, so we didn't want to change things so drastically. その願いはグランドサーバント関する告知ということでいいのでしょうか。はい、今まで数年を経ってお伝えしてきたのはグランド戦に向けてアナウンスになっています。So it says, essentially, interviewer says, the reason why you were telling us to bond your servants and level up your servants and get your favorite servants and a lot of servants leveled up was that for this grand duel battle and the grand servant system. Mr. 2 has said, yes, throughout the years, the announcements and the warnings that I have been given out was definitely pointed towards the grand duel system. It says, however, the grand graph system itself has to do with the final chapter. So as a result, it was a warning to everybody to prepare themselves for the final chapter is what I wanted to convey. And then the interviewer goes, so does that mean we need to keep continuing to grow our servants? Question mark. Right? It doesn't have a question mark, but that is what the interviewer is implying. Mr. 2 says that is correct. We still are, when it comes to certain things, we are still in adjustments when it comes to final chapter. But we would like your grand servants to pop off other than the grand duel battle. It says, so if you level them up here and there, I believe you won't regret it. It says, especially bond to 15. Bonding to 15, or especially bonding all your servants as well. It says, please utilize the quote-unquote stargazing teapots to continue your bonding session and your farming session. And then interviewer asks, when it comes to bond, you've been yelling at us about this for quite the long time. 絆レースの同時に装備できる仕業がすることはかなり前から決めていましたので、前もってお伝えさせていただきました。So it says, we knew the able to equip your bond CE gimmick was already been implemented ahead of the time, so we wanted to warn for this moment. And that is why I was telling everybody from the very get-go. or, you know, when it started. Speaking of Bond CE effects and whatnot, the concept of using its Bond CE effects or having the option to get 50% MP charge, what is the reasoning of to able to select one or the other? Were there any other suggestions that you wanted to add into this option, perhaps? Mr. 2 said, we did quite a lot, actually. It says, depending on the effects, we would add additional cost to it, or we would intentionally add a gimmick to the Bond craft essence. We would intentionally add Bond craft essence to add additional things or there. However, in conclusion, not a lot of things stuck to the core. And we really didn't have an answer that would be satisfactory for everyone if we were to go one way or the other. And so Mr. Nasu came up with the idea saying, why don't you just add one more functionality and just pick and choose? So Nasu was the reason you either use the Bond CE effect or 50% MP charge. Because they were thinking about just revamping the entire Bond CE at one point. But they never really stick to it. And depending on the cost, it would double the amount of passive. It says これ、キーケもう一つ増やして、好きな確かに思いました。何か無理やり調整するより、全員が納得できるようなあって嬉しい機能をつければいいな。いい。それだと思いまして、そういうので振り込みました。So, yeah, it says Nasu come to the conclusion saying, why don't you just add a functionality and just let them choose? And to be perfectly honest, that is exactly what we came to the conclusion to. Unlike forcing and adjusting every single craft essence, and forcing unlike an unadjustable force, forcing adjustments on everything, able to create a functionality that everybody can be agreed upon. Wait, what? 確かにと思いました。何かを無理やり調整するより、全員が納得できるようなあって嬉しい機能をつければいい。それだと思いう感じで最終決断に振り切りました。So it says, yeah, they had the possibility of, like adding additional shit to the Bond CE. They thought about doubling its effect. They thought about, overcoming additional Bond effects, but nothing really like stick hard. And then everybody didn't come to the conclusion that everybody can be happy for. Then Mr. Nasu then implemented, why don't you add a functionality to add one more on top of it and let people choose? And then that was quite right. Instead of adjusting and forcing things, if everybody can agree to it, we can add a happy functionality that would satisfy the players. Not Mr. Nasu, that's a good idea, and that is the reason why we came to the final conclusion of either Bond effect or 50% charge. Okay. If they have to rebalance it, they have to rebalance 450 CEs, and that would have been insane. I agree. I sincerely agree. It should have been done, but 450 plus CE rebalance is insane at a fucking small company here. Yep. 那須さんの一言が発想的だったんですね。The interviewer goes, Mr. Nasu's voice of reasoning was the deciding point, I see. Mr. 2 specifically says, Mr. Nasu has said that the Bond CE is the quote-unquote servant's personality added their last face, right? Their last face, aka their last kind of gesture. And so if they change the effect, it would technically not be a Bond CE anymore. And I sincerely agree with that. When it comes to the MP charge, we had quite the discussion about it, and we trial tested it left and right. And so in the end, we had come to the conclusion that 50% was just right. After all, not enough charge would make them impossible to be utilized, and too much would be too far. It says, additionally, adding the so the interviewer goes, I agree, adding append skills, adding the append skills, you are able to easily get 70% charge right off the bat. If anybody has a 30% skill charge, if anybody, a lot of the servants do have a 30% skill charge, and that becomes useful right away. And then Mr. 2 answers, I myself, while doing the Grand Duel Battle, little by little, adjusting the Grand Servant's strength and switching append skills to MP and others and adjusting accordingly to the circumstances is a very fun experience. And そういう効果を積み上げていく楽しみは残したいと思いました。And that is why the reasoning, whatchamacallit. It says, I too, whenever I do the Grand Duel Battle, little by little, I like to adjust my Grand Servants and strengthen it, and utilizing the append skills to gain additional MP or other effects and swapping them, and enjoy that feeling of doing so. I wanted to keep that gimmick of strengthening and building up that character and enjoying that process. It's 初期から剣心選手にでもグランドサーバントに余裕に強化していって徐々に強化していって少しずつ強い相手に挑むという設定しています。なので安静に強く安寧に強くするのではなく、ギリギリのところを積み上げていく形で楽しんでもらえばと思います。NP チャージに関してはそう考えると、様々な思考系、小尺上で決めた数値ですね。それと現状のグランドスコアの反映する群衆のみですが、今後も聞いていくと思いますが。So essentially, he's saying that the very first, the grand duel battle, right? The check, right? The grand check. The first wall before you pick a grand servant. Starting from the grand servant check shenanigans, whether you got the qualifications or not. Little by little, increasing your strength of your grand servant and challenging the enemies that get stronger and stronger. That is the gimmick we want you to have, and that is the setup we have to enjoy that process. If you can enjoy the increasing of your character strength little by little while going through down the difficulties and enjoy the process of your character being more powered up and able to overcome the challenges. That's also the thought process when it comes to MP charge as well. And that is also the conclusion of why it is 50% due to testings and theoretical calculations. It says, and then the interviewer goes, by the way, Genjo Grand Store ga donna反映する? It says, currently we can only utilize a grand score at the Grand Duel Battle exclusive. Will there be other places we can utilize the grand score? Mr. 2 specifically says, at the final chapter, obviously, and we are planning to utilize the grand score in couple other places. After all, you've granted your servants and raised them up very nicely. We are preparing to have a stage floor for your amazing characters to show off their skills. Interviewer goes, oh, that's really exciting. By the way, currently we can have up to 9 grand servants. However, we can only put 6 maximum in our roster. If possible, I would like to see all 9 servants of grand pop off, in my opinion, and that's how I feel, sir. Mr. 2 goes, we're currently on the testing phase, so I cannot say things here and there as much. But I believe how we can utilize the 9 servants into our roster will become a very important factor. Please do understand that every single servants will be utilized and there will be a location for them. So all I can say is, please be patient, is all I can say and plead. So meaning that if you guys don't know what that said, the interviewer said, hey, there's 9 grand servants, but you can only put 6 grand in roster. So because there's only 6 roster, right? You can only put 3 servants, 3 front, 3 in the back, right? Maximum of 6, including your friend. Or technically you don't need a friend, right? Well, technically you do need a friend, right? So technically 5, right? But 6 roster in total. The interviewer asked, is there a way we can get 9 grand servants either in one roster or in one screen? Mr. 2 says, we're cooking right now, okay? We're cooking right now. Please do wait. We're currently in a testing phase. So Mr. 2 also believes that it is also important to how we can bring these 9 grands, right? I believe that will come into an important factor. Mr. 2 says, we will prepare a table, aka a stage, aka a location. We will prepare a location for all of the servants to pop off, right? Whether it's 3-3-3 or 6-1 or, you know, etc. Mr. 2 is saying, we're going to do our best to get all of your 9 grand servants into a roster-able capability. What Mr. 2 can only say is, please be excited for it. That's it. Just something with 9 servants is happening. We don't know when, we don't know what the gimmick is. But your grand servants, all your grand servants is going to play a role somewhere, somehow, some way, is what Mr. 2 is saying. We don't know what, but Mr. 2 is saying your 9 grand servants is going to play a role somewhere in the final chapter. You know, Kogo Kitai. It says, you know, expect great things. Smile. So that's exciting. That's very exciting. All right, the interviewer asked, by the way, the compass, right? The readjustment, the realigning compass. Is there going to be a time where the compass will become infinite? Meaning that the compass that allows you to change grands left and right? Interviewer asking, will we get an infinite supply of that one day? Or will that shit turn infinity? Mr. 2 specifically says, by the way, losing the limitation will probably not happen until the final chapter ends, right? Until the final chapter is over, you're probably going to be limited. The reason why is because they want you to pick your own grand servant. Okay? They want you to pick with your own grand servant first. That is the quote-unquote wish from the development staff, and that is the quote-unquote what the purpose of this is, that you're supposed to pick what you want, what you like. It's a decision that you're going to make for now. And so in 10th anniversary, there was not a major system update or remodel. However, I did see you've added minor adjustments and minor updates that really helped out. Mr. 2 goes. The limit break to the 9999 QP, right? 9 jillion QP. I think it's like 99 billion. I can't remember. It's a butt ton of QP limit. Limit max QP. Thank God. And able to utilize storm pods in other quests and whatnot. We were able to add these tiny things. We are currently avoiding a large modification scale currently, but little by little it'd be I hope you are all happy with the current tiny updates and gimmicks that we are slowly but surely able to implement. ストーンバード使用ですなどいろいろ行いました。大きな周平、先ほど言った通り下げていますが、So yeah, Mr. 2 has stated that they are currently avoiding large scale like updates. But they are still planning to add these mini functionalities little by little. It says, by the way, do you have any more reserve planned in mind? Mr. 2 specifically says, due to the preparation and the development side of final chapter, we don't really have the luxury to do so. So this will become my personal opinion. Personally, during the choose your support setup for your friends to utilize, I would have a button to automatically put craft essence right off the bat is what I do wish for. When I am so busy, adding one craft essence at a time on a friend support does take a bit tedious. So essentially, Mr. 2 is saying that due to final chapters, preparations, and development stage, they don't really have time to add more additional like minor updates, but they'll probably add one here and there. Personally, he wants to have a auto craft essence, auto CE implementation on the support list. So like, remember, your friends will use your support list when creating support. Right? When creating support for your friends to choose. He wants a button that immediately throws up a craft essence. He wants a auto CE loaded out on the friend support craft essence gimmick. You mean like team build? No. So like, you know how you make a support? You know how in events you have a support? You know how you got like event support, normal support, and you put your event CEs and you put your shit MLB'd and whatnot? He wants the friend support loadout CE to be instantaneously filled out in a snap of a finger. Because it gets tedious if you do one at a time every time. That's pretty cool. I think he just wants it, so he throws it up at the moment, right? And he's probably referencing it during an event, right? He's probably referencing it during an event where it's like a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, ticket ticket CE or damage CE or bond CE, etc. The interviewer goes, "Oh, I understand. I know your feelings." It says, yeah, after all, depending on the person, servant's number gets tightened because of it. It's essentially some people are not adding every servant in their friend support list because they're just trying to be efficient about it. Autofill support CE, not autofill support servant. Autofill support CE. We'll probably get autofill support servant while coming up with an autofill support CE. Mr. 2 also adds that during an event, if I am not set correctly, my friends look at me wide-eyed and pissed, parentheses, sweating. Meaning that he doesn't want his friends to look at him with wide eyes, as if he's gonna get cursed. Simultaneously, especially for grand servants, I get a little timid, or aka a little rushed, because the current grand servant might not be bond 10, and so my bond CE is going to be blank. So I'm going to bond 10 it real quickly, so please wait a moment, or other minor details and stuff like that. Also, this is going to be a little tedious. It might be a little, tedious, or it might be a little too focused, or it might be a bit much. But I would like to have, whenever we're trading event items, instead of utilizing the slider all the way, I would like to have a button that instantly maxes the slider on the other side. I am asking for that to be possible. In reality, we are working on the final chapter, so I don't know how much reality where these two ideas will come forward, but if we could implement it little by little, it'd be great. So, meaning that Mr. 2 wants a support CE, right? Mr. 2 wants a autofill CE loadout. And Mr. 2 also wants a one-click max trade event item trade, right? So, like, whenever you're trying to get an item, you just press one button instead of moving the slider all the way on the other side. So you press a button that says maximum purchase. That is the two current tiny updates that Mr. 2 wants. He says, in reality, we are working on the final chapter, so we don't know how much they can make it work. But that concludes the quote-unquote Mr. 2 talking about the grand servants and minor updates that he wanted. If you got any questions, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me, what kind of minor upgrades do you want on FGL, right? Like, autofill shenanigans, or, something subtle, right? Like, 10 ticket summoning. I don't know what that came from, but it is what it is. Make sure you write it down in the comment section and let me know about it. And I might answer too. I'll see you in the next video. It could be the last one. It might not be. Make sure you stick around. Peace.